I was on a video call with shareholders when my old high school group suddenly started messaging me. Megan, did you see Felicity's post? She's getting married today. I replied, saying I was busy with work. People were quick to respond. What could you possibly be busy with? Someone who hasn't posted in 100 years must be doing pretty poorly. Admit you're embarrassed and stop pretending to be so busy. Felicity chimed in. Remember our bet? I always said I'd marry someone better than you. I don't recall that immediately. Others jumped in. Felicity's husband is the CEO of a publicly traded company. They even sent over 10. You're worried about how your life compares. Maybe you're broke and can't afford a wedding gift. Why not start a crowdfunding campaign? Felicity tagged me again. I hope you can make it to my wedding. We're classmates. My husband will arrange. She posted a photo of herself and her husband in wedding attire. My jaw dropped when I saw her husband's face. That was Logan Ridley, my husband who married into my family. I'll definitely come to witness your happiness. My phone buzzed with a message from Logan. He was heading back to his hometown to see his parents. He'd already prepped dinner. I left it in the fridge for you to heat up when you're ready. Love you always, Logan. He moved in with me 3 years ago and has always taken care of me. I used to be touched by his gestures, but now I feel absurd. I ended the video call and drove to the address Felicity had shared. I saw a big red banner over the entrance. It said Mr. Ridley was coming to the wedding. Felicity was in a white wedding dress. She was waiting for her groom. There were lots of our classmates around her. They were excited. Felicity, you kept this a secret. We didn't know you were marrying Mr. Ridley. He is the boss of all Grand Group. Felicity, you're about to be a high society lady. Don't forget about us. Even our high school teacher Amanda Lane was there, fawning over Felicity. I knew you were destined for greatness. That's why I never scolded you for your grades. I knew you were born to be wealthy. The crowd showered her with compliments. Felicity wore she smiled triumphantly, her eyes sparkling. Logan had been living with me for years, doing nothing to gain experience. I had trusted him with managing the smallest company under my name. I didn't know that it would become capital. Felicity was now flaunting it to bask in the spotlight. The classmates who had flattered her suddenly looked at me with diss. One of Felicity's lackeys saw the car behind me and came over with a sneer. You rented a Bentley just to come to Felicity's wedding and save face? The others asked. No wonder you had the nerve to show up. You just wanted to play pretend. Renting a car like that must cost you at least 3 months' salary, they said. Some people just love to put on a show. Pretending to be rich can't compete with Felicity's husband. Why rent a fancy car to keep up with the Joneses? I remained calm. It's my car. Felicity suddenly stepped in front of me. She raised her hand and slapped me hard across the face. Your car. This is my husband's car. I've suspected he was seeing someone else. Now I find out it's you. You little gold digger. How dare you show up at my wedding driving my husband's car to taunt me? Felicity's words left everyone wide-eyed. Felicity, is that car really your husband's? One classmate exclaimed. Her chin was held high. It's real. Why would I lie? She pulled out her phone and started scrolling through photos of her and Logan. There were shots of them snuggled up in the car and others of them lounging on the hood. The details inside the car and the license plate were unmistakably clear. The crowd gasped. Holy crap! It's Felicity's husband's car. That means Megan must be the other woman. Felicity's expression changed to a scowl. Her eyebrows knitted together in anger. No wonder you've been so quiet all these years. You've just been playing the side chick. The crowd turned their eyes to me. Their expressions were a mix of shock and disdain. I can't believe it. Megan looks so put together, yet she's been sneaking around as someone's mistress. I used to think she was cool and aloof. I even wrote her a love letter. Back in high school, now it feels gross. Some people act innocent on the outside, but behind closed doors they're a whole different story. Look at her flaunting the sugar daddy's car right in front of the real wife. Felicity getting married and is trying to ruin the wedding. Even Amanda looked at me with contempt. Megan, don't mention you were my student in public. I never taught anyone with such a lack of morals. The crowd turned into a frenzy, pointing fingers and whispering. Some took out their phones to record, while others spat in my direction in anger. I ripped off my designer coat and tossed it into a nearby trash can. I turned to face Felicity. My voice was steady and fierce. You should ask Logan who the real is before you start throwing accusations. Felicity slapped me hard across the face. Today is my wedding day with Logan. She pointed angrily at my car. Her voice was rising. I despise mistresses. They deserve to be punished. She scratched the words mistress die across my car. The glaring letters sent a chill down my spine. You'll soon realize just how ironic those words words are. Felicity's anger boiled over. You're stealing my husband and then mocking me. Just thinking about my husband's car being driven by a skank like you makes me sick. She picked up a brick from the ground and began smashing it against my car. She hit the windows, the headlights, the hood. Nothing was spared. Felicity is going to be the future first lady of all. We can't let her be bullied by a lowlife like Megan. I tried to tell them to take responsibility, but they ignored me. They acted like I wasn't there. Then one of Felicity's workers opened the boot and said, "Hey, she's got some cool stuff hidden back here." Felicity came closer and pulled out a painting with a mean look on her face. She's a woman who makes a living off her body, trying to act like a connoisseur with a collection. Give me a break. I couldn't help but say, warnings in. These items are worth more than my car. Especially that painting. I'd advise you to be careful. The contents of my trunk were prized acquisitions from auctions. Felicity's anger flared further at my words. She tore the painting to shreds in front of me. Amanda stomped on the remnants with glee. She was looking at the ruined artwork. She gasped, "That painting is a master's original. I heard it started at a $300 million auction." Felicity shrugged it off. So what if it's $300 million? That's still my husband's money. They thought he was a rich tycoon, but he was actually penniless. Despite being in charge of the company, he had made it worth half as much as it should have been. I would have fired him, but Felicity and her classmates liked him as a boss. Felicity led the others in destroying my. I saw them in a frenzy and thought it was futile to intervene. I tried to call the police, but Felicity grabbed my phone and smashed it. She called me a mistress and asked why I called the cops. She noticed the necklace around my neck and asked if I used her husband's money for it. She yanked the necklace from my neck with force. Startled, I shouted, "Give it back." I felt desperate. It wasn't about the money. Just give it back. I lunged forward, reaching for the necklace. It was a talisman my mother had fought to get for me. I had been sick as a child. Doctors had told my parents to prepare for the worst. My mother refused to give up hope. She went to a church praying for my recovery. She climbed a mountain to a church in the heat of summer. She was nearly unconscious by the time she got the necklace. She wanted to save me. It was as if the heavens moved by devotion. I woke up from my coma. But my mother died. She gave me the necklace. I had to keep that necklace safe. I had loved it since I was a child. It was always with me. It was more than just jewelry. It was a lifeline to my mother. I would never let anyone harm it. Felicity threw it to the ground. The pendant shattered into pieces and scattered across the pavement. My heart dropped as I watched it disintegrate. I gasped for breath, feeling the world close in around me. I slapped Felicity hard across the face, her cheek, her voice piercing the air. "Someone teaches this little a lesson. I'll give $1 million just like that." The crowd turned against me. Still think, you can mess with Felicity. She's the future first lady of Grand Group. What do you think you are? You should be used to losing things since you've been selling yourself for scraps. Why are you so worked up? Shameless mistress. You think you're so tough. But you're not. You'll regret this. My old classmates laughed at me. You think this is high school? You're not the smart kid you think you are. You're just a nobody. You're selling your body and still think you can intimidate us. Know your place. Seducing your old classmates is low. They pinned me to the ground. The crowd joined in, spitting and hurling insults. Felicity stomped forward, a triumphant grin on her face, her foot on my cheek. "I've never regretted anything. I'm just waiting to see how you'll make me regret this." Just then, a fleet of luxury cars roared into view. Halting in front of the crowd, Logan emerged from one of the cars, flanked by a group of sharply dressed men. Again, I never got away. I never got away. The moment Logan stepped out of the car, the crowd fell silent. All eyes were glued to him. The classmates who had been pinning me down released me. They stood up straight, their gazes fixed on the newcomer. Felicity. Logan was striking. He was dressed and he wore a tailored suit that showed off his tall, athletic frame. He radiated confidence and became the center of attention as soon as he arrived. "Is that Mr. Ridley from Grand Group?" "Yes, that's him." He made a grand entrance in a fleet of luxury cars. "He's not just a big shot. He's good looking too. No wonder Megan is all over him. Felicity is lucky to marry him. I'm jealous of Felicity. She's with Logan now. She's been dying to marry him. He's warm and affectionate. He says she's clingy." My former classmates rushed forward. "They want to be his friend. Small advertising firm. Group. If you need ads, I'd love a shot at it. Here's my card," one of them said, practically shoving a business card into Logan's hand. "Ms. Ridley, We've just launched a new product. We'd love for you to try it out. Here's a sample. Completely free. Another chimed in, grinning from ear to ear. Mr. Ridley, Felicity and I were desk mates for 3 years. I've admired you. 4 years. I don't think All Grand Group has any job openings. I'm willing to learn anything. Ms. Ridley. The chorus of pleas and flattery grew louder. Each classmate tried to impress him. Watching my old classmates, Felicity's smile grew wider. She enjoyed the moment. Logan seemed unfazed. He instructed his assistant to collect all the cards. Another day at the office. Then Felicity's mother stepped forward, her face glowing with pride. We've prepared coffee for you. Please come inside and enjoy it with us. Logan glanced at his watch. Thanks, but we're running out of time. I've already booked a hotel and arranged the banquet with this many cars. It should be enough for everyone to join us. Sounds good. Let's head out. They made their way towards the sleek, luxurious cars parked in. They imagined themselves stepping into these cars and heading towards the wedding of the group's president. They felt exhilarated. The mere thought of being part of such a high-profile event made them feel successful. Just as they were about to board the vehicles, the sound of police sirens pierced the air. A squad of officers jumped out of their cars. Their voices boomed. Freeze! Nobody moves. We received reports of a public disturbance and intentional harm. The festive atmosphere shattered. The classmates who had just been buzzing with excitement now looked panicked. Some couldn't even lift their heads, terrified of drawing attention from the police. Logan raised an eyebrow, bewildered, as he turned to Felicity. What's going on? Why are the cops here? A flicker of guilt crossed Felicity's eyes as she stammered. My classmate said they wanted to teach the homewrecker a lesson. Logan was uncomfortable. Felicity pouted, figuring innocence. Maybe she misunderstood, but she was still someone who tried to ruin my wedding. We should teach her a lesson. Her old classmates immediately chimed in, saying that the woman has always tried to one-up Felicity since high school. She showed up just to cause trouble at the wedding. She's been a thorn in Felicity's side for years. We couldn't let her get away with it. The classmates were eager to score points with Felicity, seizing the opportunity to disparage me, and Felicity's mother seized the moment too. She cares about this wedding and started causing trouble. People will think we're weak if we don't teach her a lesson. Logan nodded. He agreed a lesson wouldn't hurt. Felicity straightened up. She faced the police. Someone came to cause trouble at my wedding. We had to defend ourselves. The officer frowned. I need you all to come to the station and tell me what happened. The classmates who joined in the attack looked uneasy. Felicity stood her ground. She was defiant. I'm not going to the police station today. It's my wedding day. She turned to Logan. Please, honey, you're the president of All Grand Group, has connections. Can't you talk to the police for me? The other classmates quickly agreed. They looked desperate. Mr. Ridley, you're important. Surely the police will listen to you. Today is a celebration for you and Felicity. It would be a shame for everyone to end up at the station. Felicity's mother added her 2 cents. Logan, it's your special day. We can't let this ruin your reputation. Logan straightened up his demeanor and addressed the police officer. I'm Logan, the president of All Grand Group. We know the city police department's leadership. Can't we just let this slide? You can't just hit people in public, no matter who you know. I can't decide if you should stop. You'll need the victim's forgiveness. Logan smiled confidently. I don't believe anyone would dare stand against me. He turned to Felicity. Where's the person you attacked? Felicity led Logan through the crowd, pointing at me. I was lying on the ground, hair disheveled and bruised. Logan didn't recognize me. He approached, glanced at my injuries and sneered. So you're the one who's always bullied Felicity. I'm Felicity's husband. Bullying her is unforgivable. You've already been taught a lesson. I won't hold it against you. It's my wedding day. I won't allow any disruptions. You've only got a few scrapes. I'll compensate you. Let's settle this privately. His words floated in the air, casual and condescending, as if my presence was a privilege. I didn't respond. I let out a cold huff. Logan, his brow furrowed slightly. What's the matter? You look dissatisfied. He paused, then said, since it's my big day, I won't bother you too much. Here's the deal. If you ever need anything, just come to the All Grand Group. I'll take care of it. He looked down at me with disdain, a glare. You should be grateful. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. If it weren't for our history, you wouldn't even be getting this kind of treatment. The other classmates chimed in. They were jealous. You're still the star student from high school. Mr. Ridley's willing to compensate you. He's being generous. If it were anyone else, You'd be in a world of hurt. Why are you get up and thank Mr. Ridley properly? Maybe she's lying there secretly reveling in his grave. This might be the biggest honor of her life. The mere mention of Logan's so-called compensation only served to further fuel the resentment of my old classmates. Their simmering anger now bubbled over into palpable fury. They kept on agitating. Logan's patience was wearing thin. He glared at me. I've been generous today. Don't push your luck. If you disrupt my wedding, I won't hold back. I gritted my teeth against the pain and slowly pushed myself up. I brushed my hair aside and faced Logan directly. Logan, you really think you're something special? I thought of the first time I met him in the rain. I was driving home in a storm and he suddenly appeared in front of my car. I hit him, and he flew through the air. I got out of the car to take him to the hospital, but he brushed it off and slowly got up. He said he was fine and walked away without looking back. I watched him limp away into the rain. Something stirred in my heart. He was unlike anyone I had ever met. I dug into his background and discovered he worked at my father's company. My heart soared with excitement. I truly believed it was fate. I managed to slip into my father's company as an intern. The moment Logan saw me there, his expression shifted to one of surprise. Logan was a new intern. He wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed, but he was hardworking and determined. He poured his heart and soul into every task. That kind of determination made me view Logan in a new light. He was facing dismissal due to a lack of performance, but I got him promoted ahead of schedule. He was so happy he lit up like a Christmas tree. I admired his spirit as we spent more time together. I began to see a different side of Logan. He wasn't just the quiet, serious guy I thought he was. Logan had a great sense of humor and could always make me laugh. He made me feel at ease, even in moments of silence. However, our relationship took a significant turn during an incident at a networking event. I stepped outside and was surrounded by a group of drunken men who started harassing me. I felt utterly helpless, but Logan appeared like a knight in shining armor. Though he got beaten up by those drunken fools, I was safe. That was the first time I felt my heart race for this man who had risked himself for me. I couldn't hold back my feelings and confessed my love. Logan accepted my feelings, and just like that we began our romance. Throughout our relationship I kept things casual. We'd grab food, walk, visit parks, catch movies and have fun. It was simple and joyful. I took Logan home to meet my dad. He was nervous. My dad didn't look down on Logan. He made it clear that class didn't matter. No amount of wealth could surpass. He had one condition. Logan had to agree to become part of our family. He didn't want me to marry into another family. I expected Logan to hesitate or refuse. After all, Logan was the only son in his family. Marrying into his wife's family was disgraceful for a man. Surprisingly, Logan nodded without a second thought. He even declared right there that he loved me and was devoted to me. Logan signed a prenuptial agreement promising that if he ever strayed, he'd leave with nothing. I was touched by his sincerity. Once we tied the knot, Logan continued to treat me kindly and support me. I handed over the management of Grand Group to him. The company didn't thrive under Logan's leadership, but I never held it against him. My only wish was for us to live happily together. As long as he loved me, nothing else mattered. I basked in the love Logan portrayed, convinced I had found my true soulmate. Now it all felt so ironic and laughable. The moment Logan's gaze locked onto mine, his face drained of color. He froze like a deer in headlights. Felicity spoke first, her voice full of disdain. "Megan, who do you think you are? You think you can just call my husband by his full name? Don't think Mr. Ridley will save you. You're nothing to him. You think you're worthy of that? Meeting Ridley doesn't give you a free pass. Take a look in the mirror and check your status." I felt calm as the insults rained down, but Logan's expression grew gloomier. I couldn't help but smirk at him. I asked, "Did you hear they're saying you're not worthy of calling me by my name?" My remark nearly knocked the wind out of Logan. He struggled to find his footing just as he opened his mouth to respond. Felicity jumped in. "You dirty little, how dare you speak to my husband like that? You're not satisfied with the lesson from earlier?" She stormed toward me, hand raised to slap me, but Logan was quicker, stopping her before she could make contact. Felicity gasped in disbelief, staring at him wide-eyed. "Why are you stopping me? Are you sorry for this loser, or is she your secret mistress?" The place erupted into gasps and murmurs. Whispers filled the air and everyone turned to look at Logan and me. Their eyes were wide with shock. No way is Megan really Mr. Ridley's mistress. Otherwise, why would Mr. Ridley be defending her? She's just a mistress. No way she can compare to Felicity. Right, Mr. Ridley. He's holding Felicity back to protect her. Felicity grabbed Logan's arm. shaking him. "You don't have to stop me teaching her a lesson. I'm your future wife." Logan suddenly pulled her hand away, his voice rising in anger. "Get away from me." Felicity stumbled back, her expression shocked. The crowd was confused. Logan was sorry and said he was wrong. He had called Megan honey in front of everyone. Felicity was shocked. She didn't know what to think. Arrows. Felicity's face turned pale. After a moment, she snapped back to reality and turned to Logan, her voice shrilled with disbelief. "You said you were single and the wedding license didn't matter. How could you lie to me like this? Speak up." Felicity became more and more agitated, grabbing Logan's hand and shaking it. Logan jerked his hand away, shouting at her to shut up. Felicity stumbled back from the rejection. She stared at him, her eyes wide with disbelief. This was not the Logan she had devoted herself to. How could the man she loved so deeply reveal such a monstrous side? Logan didn't care about Felicity's feelings. The only thing on his mind was the sweat trickling down his back and anxiety. He pleaded with me. "Please, sweetheart. I know I messed up. Please forgive me." He'd fallen from the self-assured man I once knew. His arrogance had vanished. I met his gaze with a stony expression. "Logan, you promised me you'd love me. What happened to that?" I pointed at Felicity. My voice was steady. "You say you love me, but you're married to someone else. How can you do both?" "It all makes sense now. When I saw you on the street, you didn't notice me. You just walked away. When I was in trouble, you came to save me. Then you told me to forget about it. Why did I bring you home? You weren't surprised. You'd been keeping tabs on me. You used the car accident to get closer to me. You knew who I was and what I came from. You played me like a fool. You used me to get ahead. You kept your other women on the side. You played this part well. I had to wait. I was convinced of his devotion. I never suspected that those moments were just part of his plan. I felt like a fool for believing I had found true love. I cared about Logan and I'll get everything sorted out. This won't happen again," Logan said, pulling at me. Felicity was confused and still blinking at Logan. She looked disbelieving. "Logan, why are you begging her? You're the president of the group. I get that she's your wife, but you don't need to lower yourself for her. I've entered her family. Everything I have is thanks to her." When Logan spoke, Felicity's face showed shock. It was as if they had just realized they were up against something more formidable than they had anticipated. I shot them a cold glance before turning to the police officer. "These people have publicly defamed me, assaulted me and destroyed my antique painting, worth hundreds of millions of dollars. I won't accept any less." I demanded mediation and serious action. The officer nodded and took everyone involved to the station. He reminded me to bring documents proving the value of the damaged property. He assured me everything would be settled after I got my wounds treated at the hospital and secured the necessary documents. I made my way to the police station. The once arrogant classmates now wore expressions of dread. Felicity's status as Logan's wife made them eager to curry favor with her. Now they realized they should have respected her. The tables had turned and they were uncomfortable. They glared at Felicity, who stood there utterly lost. Felicity was facing a huge bill and the irony was devastating. She had spent the day denouncing mistresses, only to find out she was one. Her wedding was a joke, and she was the punchline. This was too much for her to bear. As the officers reviewed the documents I provided, they calculated that Felicity and her crew had caused a lot of damage, a staggering $790 million. The crowd's faces drained of color. How is that even possible? She can't be that rich. Even if she's not a mistress. Officer, don't let her fool you. We all went to high school together. She was so plain back then. There's no way she's a big shot. Look into where that money came from. It could be dirty money." The classmates were still in denial, grasping at straws. Their disbelief echoed through the room, but the police officer scoffed. "We've already done our homework. She's the daughter of the city's most wealthy man, and her wealth is beyond your comprehension. Just because she chooses to be low-key doesn't give you the right to bully her." His words left them speechless. The officer continued, "The amount you've caused in damages is. You should be thinking about how to make amends, not questioning her background. She's made it clear she won't settle for less than full accountability." $790 million was an astronomical figure. They knew they couldn't afford it, so they played the victim. Some old classmates stood their ground, indignantly addressing me. "We were all classmates once. You're already rich. Why go after us? It's just a misunderstanding after all these years. Do you really need to drive us into a corner like this? It's just a car and a few collectibles. You're the daughter of a billionaire, so don't be so petty. You're telling me you can't get over a few bucks? Look at you. Your injuries aren't that bad. Just let it go. This was more audacious than the last. As if $790 million was pocket change to them. Maybe they thought I should be their scapegoat. I couldn't help but snort in disbelief, my tone dripping with sarcasm. So now that you know we're classmates, it's all good. Did you think about that when you were beating me up? You were smashing my stuff and now you want me to just drop it. What's that about? What's the deal? You've got the guts to break things but not to pay for them. Throughout high school I had always kept a low profile. My nose was buried in my books. I never stirred up trouble. Felicity was constantly stirring up trouble for me. She would accuse me of being pretentious and aloof. She said I was unfit for any social circle. She would rally her flock and they led their classmates in teasing me, making my high school days a living hell. I just kept my head down and avoided confrontation. My passive approach only seemed to fuel their audacity. They were pushing me into a corner, ready to beat me into submission. If I didn't teach them a lesson, they'd only feel emboldened to keep targeting those weaker than them. They stopped confronting me directly and started blaming Felicity. You're the mistress. Yet you're pointing fingers at her and dragging us into this mess. You have no shame. You dragged us into this mess just because we wanted to be on your good side. Now you want us to pay for it. You made a mistake. You should pay for that $790 million. Don't drag us into this. Felicity was angry. She replied without thinking. You blame me for bullying. You egged me on. I wouldn't have been pushed into it if you hadn't tried to climb the social ladder. You treated me like royalty when you thought I was the president's wife. Now you're all ready to throw me under the bus. Look at you. You're all lapdogs. Not one of you is getting out of here today. Felicity and her old classmates went back and forth hurling insults at each other. If the police hadn't intervened just in time, they might have ended up in it after a shouting match. The classmates tried to defend themselves, but the police showed them the surveillance footage. Each person was held accountable for their actions. Some tried to avoid jail time by selling their possessions and asking for loans. Others faced divorce papers from their spouses and found themselves cut off from friends and family. One was left to face the consequences of their actions behind bars. Felicity had been the most enthusiastic participant in the chaos. She incurred the highest debt. Now confronted with this astronomical compensation demand, she found herself at a loss and turned to Logan for help. Felicity was crying and begging Logan for help. Logan felt sorry for her but said he couldn't help. I told him not to be so mean. I said he should cut her some slack. Your fake affection for all these years makes me sick. I've already drafted the divorce papers. We're done. I walked away. Felicity and the classmates who couldn't pay their debts were taken into custody. Even Amanda was investigated. Logan walked away with nothing. I transitioned from a life of being someone's partner to a solitary existence. It took some getting used to. I found a strange sense of freedom in it. Then one day, while I was out for my morning jog, I spotted Logan lurking on a path I often ran. His unkempt beard and wild eyes sent a shiver down my spine. The moment he saw me, his expression twisted into something menacing as he lunged forward, pulling out a knife. I've finally caught up with you, Logan shouted, his voice filled with rage. What are you doing? He glared at me with fury in his eyes. What am I doing? You've turned me from a successful CEO into a homeless man, scavenging like a stray dog. You still have the nerve to ask what I'm doing. I was with you for the money. What's the big deal? Every man has vices. Just because I found success doesn't mean I can't seek real love. Why do you think you have the right to make my life miserable over this? Seeing Logan spiral into a rage made me sigh. I spoke earnestly. Logan, you're still young. Put down the knife. You still have a chance. What the hell are you talking about? A hidden bodyguard kicked Logan and sent him flying. I had kept my guard up because I knew Logan wouldn't back down easily. I had hired a bodyguard to watch over me. I hadn't expected it would come in handy so soon. I ordered him to the police station. I heard that Logan got into a fight in prison and broke 2 legs. I found my footing again and learned to rely on myself. Being on my own felt liberating. No disappointments. No betrayals. I could still shine without a man. I embraced independence and grace. Loving myself was the best romance I could embrace.